Imagine a spiritual pathway that addresses your physical health, emotional frequency, mental clarity, and spiritual well-being, all in perfect harmony. This isn't just an ideal. It's the comprehensive nature of the Goddess Emergence show with Dr. Brie Gibbs, a spiritual leader, healer, and trance medium, who alongside of Goddess Bell, the creator, and other masters will share information never before released on the planet to help guide and evolve humanity, and along the way, heal the 4 dimensions of body, emotions, mind, and spirituality. This show is about true spirituality, offering a new earth narrative and effective path to well-being as it accelerates the journey of our spiritual evolution to keep pace in this rapidly changing world. Get ready to emerge the goddess within each of us, both the feminine and the masculine. If you have any questions about yourself that you have no answers to, this is the show for you. Let's emerge together and emerge better. Now here is your host, Dr. Brie Gibbs.
Welcome, everyone. Today is going to be a little bit different than my normal shows I've done. This is not just for goddesses. This is for everyone, from children to adults to men, women. This is an important subject today. When we think about why we are ravaging this earth, and I know that's a very strong word I'm using, but it's truly what we are doing. When you think about the important reasons of the great shift of consciousness, knowing that the earth is changing due to the creator's great plan. And that's very true. Taking from this earth and not replenishing it. Why are we doing that? Why are we looking at ourselves and saying, it's okay that I bought this crystal, which I have lots of crystals also. I've been doing some serious thinking about talking to my guys about it and going, something has to change. So I'm going to bring my guest on. Theresa, how are you doing?
I'm good, thank you.
What do you think about the subject today?
Well, it's one of my favorite subjects because I
Okay.
think there's a lot more awareness that needs to be out there, maybe in talking about it in a totally different way.
Very true. Very true. So the creator gifted us this amazing planet to live on. And we've taken it and almost destroyed it, taken things off of sacred land. And people will say, well, we don't go on the Indian reservations or we don't go on this reservation. But is not the whole earth a sacred land to us? And that's one thing I'm going to bring up right now. And this energetic and spiritual extractions that we're doing. How's it affecting the planet and the ocean? And how can we honor the earth with offerings? So let's start with that, Theresa. That's quite a bit, one statement to open up. So let's start with taking away from the earth. When we take from the earth, what are we doing truly? We're taking trees to build our houses. When we're taking plants and not replacing them, what are we doing? These are questions and many more that I'll be asking today. So Theresa and I are going to just have a back and forth conversation on this. So Theresa, let's start with taking from the earth. What do you think?
Well, anytime you take something away from something, you leave this, I'll call it a void, or an imbalance. And so what happens when things are not in balance? Something goes awry. Everything goes out of whack. And pretty soon, if that balance is not corrected, whether it's on the planet, your personal life, whatever it is, you're going to start feeling the pain of it, the destruction of it. So for me, the way I think about it is balance. And how do we begin to look at the earth and the actions that we have as being in balance?
Right. That's very true.
Do harm to none.
Right. And when we say do harm to none, we always say that about people, but we're not saying that about the planet. And that's the whole thing that's getting to me lately. Excuse me. So if you're taking something from the earth, let's just say you pull out a tree that had died in your yard, okay? You replace it, or you fill it back up with earth and put some grass on it. Grass needs to grow back. All grass is the living being also. You're making your patios. And what do we do? You flatten out the area, you dig up the grass, and you flatten it. Now, has anybody ever thought the grass is a live being? Does it feel pain? Yes, it feels pain. So what would be one of the first things you'd do? Me? I work with the elementals. So if you're working with the elementals, you're telling them, you're going to cut up this grass.
Mhm.
You need to move out the way so you're not being mowed. Let's say mowed, right, with the lawnmower.
Mhm.
But here's the thing. You have to tell the grass what you're doing too.
Mhm.
They feel like we feel.
Mhm.
If you're truly an empath, let's say empathic, right? Or you're so sensitive and you can feel their energy, then you know what you're doing. So even though I want to build a Zen garden in my yard, I let them know what I'm doing and why. But I give back what I honor.
Mhm.
So if I'm gonna do this Zen garden where I'm gonna need to put pavers down, I'm gonna put crystals underneath in the ground so the earth has received a gift. That's honoring the gift. What do you think about that?
I think that's a great idea. I've done that before. When I've taken something out and I've given back something. I mean, I had one occasion where I gave back this beautiful crystal that I loved. It was huge. And I buried it in the yard to give back to the crystals that I have in my house, which are many, but I appreciated what I got. And I wanted to give back something of great value to me. And so that's what I chose to do.
That's good. So let's talk about taking away from the oceans. Now we're going to get on my little soapbox here. When we take away from the oceans, fish or extubation, the scientists go into the waters of the oceans and they see what's in there. Or out here in the Puget Sound,
Mhm.
and they're looking and they see something. They say, "Oh, we've never seen this before. Let's grab this out of here." What are they doing? They're not thinking how many thousands of years old that sea creature might be. They're not thinking about the lava rocks that they're pulling out of the ocean and using it for certain things, I'm going to say.
Mhm.
And how long had they been there? Why are they not looking at that? I think that's the hardest thing for me.
Mhm.
Um, and it's humanity's responsibility. It's just not yours and I.
Mhm.
There used to be what, Greenpeace? Is that what
Mhm.
it's
Yes.
called? You
Mhm.
know, and it seems like all that has just slipped away.
Mhm.
But during the Great Shift of Consciousness, this is what it's all about. One, balance. Two, bringing in light. And three, showing that we can make a difference in what we do every day. Now, there's a lot more to it, but right now I want to talk about those major things. So making a difference right now would be quit taking from the ocean things that are not needed.
Mhm.
And when I mean sea creatures that are like thousands of years old, I mean thousands.
Mhm.
Some I've never seen before. I want to bring up a documentary Jason Momoa did,
Mhm.
Deep Rising, and
Mhm.
he's on has it on Prime TV. I watched that and brought tears to my eyes, and I thought, how much more are these people going to take to make electric cars and everything else that they're doing?
Mhm.
You know, so it really opened my eyes to watch that and the things that we go through daily, even. So when we're in the ocean, there is a whirlpool in there. sucking down plastics, garbage, cans, everything that is not making, that comes off of the container ships that they take their garbage with, right? And it's going down inside that, and it's destroying the bottom of the ocean. And in my Lemurian heritage, we all know about Winston, the great blue and gold whale. And, how do we know if he's not still there? You got to think about that one. No, they say, how could that over 50,000-year-old whale still be there that gave us our mind's eye? Could it be his children? Could it be other sea creatures? And then you think about the mermaids that are in there. And I want to talk about that for a second before we go on break. We got 2 minutes. When I moved back here, I was like, these scientists were all over in the Puget Sound. I couldn't figure out what was happening. Next thing I knew, the military was out there getting the scientists away from them, right? And they said they boldly came out and said, because of the mermaids. So it's not just spiritual people that are seeing this, the government's seeing it. It's like they honored them by keeping them away. The other thing is the responsibility to the whales. I've been watching things where they have been taking the whales out, and I forget the name of the organization, I apologize for that, and getting all the barnacles and everything off of them so they are able to swim free again and not have that heavy weight on them. And that is called humanitarian work and planetary work. But as a human being, as people on this planet, we are responsible for them. If we don't not take the initiative to do this and help these sea creatures, I'll call them that, the whales, the fish, dolphins, penguins, everything that's happening in the polar Earth right now on the shifting down planet, that if we don't take responsibility, what's going to be there in 45 years? If we get back from this break, I'll explain more about that, and Theresa and I will be back. Welcome back, everyone. I'm sorry, this is a very emotional show for me today. My heart is with this land, with the oceans, and it always has been. There has been times where I've had to go out and do some spiritual work to help cleanse an area and place crystals back into the ground to give back to Mother Nature, and to God's Gaia's Earth, actually. And so I want to talk about giving back right now. How can we truly give back what we've taken? I mean, if you really think about that, it's not just crystal. It's not just giving water. It's not just a plant. It's the love that you carry inside you energetically to give back. It's real simple to put your hands in the water and send your love into that water. Let them know that they are loved as much as a human being is loved. Teresa, what do you think on giving back to the ocean?
I think that's going to be an extremely important thing for us going forward. And there's so many ways to do that. But it starts with awareness and a belief that everything is alive and everything has a right to exist, and to begin to understand our impact when we just take. We have a habit that's very well established right now in the world of taking what we see that we want. I want that, I'll take it, without any thought. Like, I just grabbed something, and I think that's pretty profound, that we need to really look at that and say, what are we doing? What's the impact if I see something and I just go take it? What have I done?
Right.
And I think we're not talking that way. We're not teaching that. I never learned that growing up. I didn't know that. And so as we begin to understand that, I think that is some very important spiritual work. You and I've talked about what is spiritual work, lately. And that is a form of spiritual work, is to begin
Yes.
to educate ourselves, each other, put
Mhm.
that dialogue out in the environment of what are the implications to that. So I think whether you're talking oceans or land or each other, that's important. That's
As you're talking, I'm even thinking about as kids,
Mhm,
our parents take us to the ocean, right?
mhm,
Or even we go now
mhm.
and we see a sand dollar. We pick that
Yeah,
up.
we pick it up.
We pick it up and you go, is there anything in there now? I can't see nothing, so I'm gonna take it home with me.
Mhm. There are some places in the world that I have traveled where we are not allowed to pick up things from the ocean now, but there's not that many places
No,
that you can't do it, but you have to go almost outside the US to run into that.
right,
And they say don't take the shells and the things.
right. And I wish there was more of that because it's
Mm,
so neat right now
right,
because you really don't know what's in that shell,
that's right.
and I'm not trying to disrupt anybody's life and living, but it's like even taking going clamming, buying the fish that we buy, all of that. But it is replenished by them.
Mhm.
It's not that the period said we can't have fish, but if we don't change things, I was told in 45 years there will not be any more fish in the sea, in the oceans, in the seas, in different areas and out in Puget Sound here. And I was totally shocked when my guide told me that.
Mhm.
And people said, well, we've never heard nothing like that. Well, you wouldn't hear it unless it came from a certain guide that I have permission to say who it came from right now. And one day maybe I will. But it's important. So this whole planet is sacred. I'm going to say that again. So this is not just only a physical, but it's a spiritual, energetic exchange. And so if you're giving something energetic to some out in the ocean, what's the one thing you might think you can give? And I'm gonna answer that. So I've given a piece of diamond that is in my heart. That's all I'm gonna say. And I've sent it out to a certain what's this? A certain being in the ocean to know that being is love. And that takes me back to my elementary roots again. I'm sorry, but that's where it had to go. And having conversations with them and knowing that I'm here to help protect this planet. That's part of my job. The law of my job,
That
actually.
appreciation,
Mhm.
love, even for the food that you eat. Why do we think we bless our food?
Right.
It is giving back an appreciation and love for what we
Mhm.
received. And
Right.
sometimes it can be that simple.
The other thing is the ancient stones that you may not think are ancient, that you're out picking pebbles up or different stones down the ocean or rivers or wherever you're at, and you say, oh, or on it could be on a walkway somewhere, and you pick up and you go, oh, I was sitting here, but you pick it up and you go, oh, that's a really pretty green rock. I think I'm gonna keep this one,
Mhm,
or like my jewelry I wear.
mhm,
Um, you know, I I've gotten to the point where I'm not buying new jewelry now or new crystals. I have what I need already.
mhm,
When this hit me a few weeks ago really hard after we did the last
mhm,
show, I thought about it. And then I thought, what can I do to make a change energetically for the planet? And I teach crystal healing.
mhm,
Okay. Have your box of crystals, the whole bit, have the right ones.
mhm.
Well, then I started calling the energy in
Right.
of them. And I started working on something with it. And what a difference. Let's just say I want to use a pink sapphire. So I call the energy into my hand. Okay. I'm not going to show you my hand movement, but this is basically called it into my hand and used it on the person I was doing this with, I would say, and and what a difference they could feel.
Mhm.
What color is this? Why are you using this color? Why are you using purple? Why are you using, clear
Mhm.
quartz? Why are you using, the
Mhm.
diamond energy? There's so many different energies. We'll get into that one day.
Mhm.
But I thought that was important because if we can just call the energy of a black amethyst or which I like using,
Mhm.
amethyst, rose quartz, labradorite, bumblebee jasper. I mean, I could go through the
So
list, right?
many, yeah,
Yeah.
powerful stones.
Tibetan quartz I have that I use as lasers, but all of that. And when I started doing that, I started feeling a difference in me. So the crystals I have around my house, they're they're in cabinets. I have a few in my office here, but mainly in cabinets where people can see them, enjoy them. But they are sitting in a sacred place now. Not just someone can just reach up and touch them now.
Mhm.
And I don't allow a lot of people, anybody in my office, that's usually. But the thing is that it's real simple to call that energy in. And I am not taking away from crystal healers, by the way. That's their journey. That's their life. My journey now is to call the energies in.
Mhm.
And I'm finding out it's actually more effective.
Mhm. You don't have to harm something or dig it out of a land area in order to do that. I'm kind of reminded as we're talking here of this is some years back where you were you were visiting me, and I remember you came in. I have granite countertops in my kitchen,
Mhm.
and you blessed my countertops.
Oh, yeah, that was a long
Remember
time
that? And
ago.
I think a lot of people, because we yanked that granite from its place. And
Mhm.
I that was new to me back then. And I've been on the need to bless your countertops.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
do.
Mhm.
I have my countertops when we got the new
Mhm.
ones and did the same thing.
Mhm.
Thanked it, blessed it,
Right?
enjoy it now, and it's being used and taken care of how it should be taken care of.
Yes.
So, and when we're doing this, but I'm gonna tell you what, I found it more effective, there's stronger usage by calling in the energy of the crystal or the stone energy you're wanting to use. And I'm going, if I find that more effective and working on
Mhm.
other, people, right? And they're feeling it even stronger than the stone. It's not polished. It hasn't been tumbled. It's not cut. It's pure energy coming from the creator
Mhm.
that we're all allowed to have. And so we were doing now we're show on that actually.
Mhm.
But the thing about it is as we go for that's what's wrong. I lost the earbud on this ear. Okay, so yeah, that was the place. So as we're doing that, um, the force of it is much stronger. The love is stronger.
Do you feel like the communication that you have doing it that way is very different than if you're just setting a stone on someone? Like it's kind of the way I learned it years ago.
Right,
You
right.
know, it's
We
it's a whole
all
different conversation, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. We've all learned it that way
Yeah.
years ago, by the way. And so, and came certified in. But the thing about it is that I'm finding out is stronger,
Mhm.
the usage. But here's the really cool thing about it is none of my energy goes into that person.
Mhm.
Only the energy of the crystal or stone I'm using at the time is going into them. I don't have to pull back my energy
Right.
and bring it back into me, pure and set, and to become pure and clear back into me. So that's one really cool
That's
thing
huge.
about it's huge. It was really huge when I found that out. It's like, so one morning I called in the pink sapphire
Mhm.
energy, right? And I was using it right, and I was going just like this and just letting it just flow out of my fingertips and everything. And the person was like, whoa, and the tingles they were having and how it was making them feel. And when I realized that, I realized this is what must be done. We need to talk about this and change that. And so, am I going to use my stones for healing anymore? No. Mm-mm. No. They're honored. They're locked up in cases and in beautiful glass cases, and they stay there. So, and the other thing is I want to tell people a lot of these crystals are getting renamed.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why. I really don't know why they're being renamed, but I guess, and I'm trying to be real careful what I say here, but all I know is I've enjoyed my crystals. I have them, my stones I've enjoyed, but I know there's a better way of doing this now. And just call in the energy of what you're feeling. And sometimes you call in, you think you're going to call in, let's say, Black Diamond, we were doing energy on the Black Diamond, right? And I mean, a talk on the energy of the Black Diamond. And I go, when I call that in, totally different than using a Black Diamond or a Black Onyx. We'll be right back. If you miss what she's in Goddess Emergence, when we merge together, merge better. Welcome back, everyone. So my producer brought something up to tell everybody about how long I've been doing this and certified in stones. So it's been over 30 years ago. Long time ago, before it became real popular. Here's the thing, is when I started learning about stones and I was working with a specific person, he taught me a lot of things. And I thought they were right. Use this stone for that, use this stone for that. And then, so all these years I did that until I took this 5-year break and did the entwinement. And now I realize that it wasn't the best choice for me. I didn't know this journey was going to happen to me. I had no idea. Every day is a new journey, right, Theresa?
Oh, yes. We learn
But,
something every day.
right. But the thing about it is when I realized that I'm grateful I took the course. I'm grateful I got certified and then started, crystallized learning healing. But the thing about it is the harm that was caused by buying all these crystals and not giving back to the earth. That got me to thinking. And so when you take these crystals, I've taken a whole bunch of small crystals I have, and I've thrown them all out in my yard. Why do you think I did that? I gave that to the elementals, to the fairies, the gnomes, and all elementals are in the yard. That's one reason I gave them all to them. You know how you can buy those crust bags?
Yeah.
Bless them. First cleanse them, bless them, and then just start throwing them out everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
You can actually buy like glass baubles that are flat.
Mm-hmm.
And then you cleanse them, bless them, throw them out everywhere. And you know what? The lawnmower doesn't get them. They're down in the grass.
Mm-hmm.
So those are things you can do to give to the fairies. And they love them, and all the other little garden creatures that come and help.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, so what I want to talk about now is the tree spirits. Every tree has a spirit in it. It's whether you call it forward or not. Have you ever called anyone forward, Teresa?
Not a tree spirit, no.
So I'll tell you kind of what to do. Is first I ask permission, may I touch you? And I feel like your hands back away, I'm
Mm-hmm.
not going to do it. But when I get permission to touch, I touch it very gently and honor it and thanking it for being in my yard or wherever I'm at, right? Then I sit down with my behind the tree, back against the tree. I sit there. I start to meditate. I talk to the tree, tell the tree how beautiful you are. And thank you for being in my yard, or thank you for wherever it's at, right?
Mm-hmm.
One day, long time ago, when I first started doing that, I walked outside, and next thing I know, this is like weeks later after doing this for so long, right? This face showed up in the tree. I was like, am I seeing this right? And she was there, wanted to thank me for honoring her, acknowledging that she was there. This happened to be a divine feminine spirit. But then I found out they're all in every tree, a rhododendron, anything, they're in there. And why not honor them? So what I've done is taken by some of my trees, put some crystals there, bigger crystals out in the yard. It's theirs, not mine now. A lot of people like build benches around them, right? Do this around them and sit by them, sit in a tree. And it's like, I'm going to honor mine. And this whole Zen garden is about. It's honoring my yard, and giving back. How can we recover from all the damage that we've done? I saw some things I was totally amazed on. Rebuilding the dirt, and what they're doing. A lot of people will go pull their weeds, spray weed killer on it of some kind, which I'm totally against. But they actually till it back into the earth to recultivate, to rebuild the soil. Now that's a simple thing to
do. Compost.
Yeah. But that's a lot of the farmers. There are farmers now, and there's actors that are doing this, are becoming farmers, and building up the soil by using everything, all the weeds, the grass, everything to rebuild the soil, because they have nitrogen and oxygen in them. A mineral that's in those weeds, as we call them, are in them. And so the soil is rebuilding itself. That's giving back also. The other thing is the earth energy depletes. Just like we can deplete from our energy. So how would we get that back, Theresa?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, there's a lot of physical things we can do, but I think, well, for me, a lot of times it's just sending blessings back to the earth. For me, it starts with awareness. Everything starts with an awareness. And I try to use my intuitive sense on things of what might be needed. So if I can quiet my mind enough, a lot of times something will come to me that I kind of need to do. And a lot of times it's just blessing my water. This is kind of a funny thing to do, but in my shower, when I take my showers, I tell my water I love it.
Right.
I always do. And of course, there's lots of studies out on water and telling you love it. But if you kind of take that to apply to everything, that's a start to begin to replenish, other than the things that we've talked about.
Right. So if you're outside and you tell your water you love it, you bless the water before it even comes out of the hose, you're replenishing the earth that way also, by giving it your energetic love. So that's another thing. Listening to the land, I think it's really important. The everyone that dwells on this earth and the beings that dwell on this earth. Let's say the raccoons. They'll have their purpose, and giving to them is important also. I'm not saying let them tear up your house now, but I am saying that a lot of people don't realize that they are kind and gentle. So I'll tell you a story real quick. I was living on the coast over by Astoria, but on the Washington side. It was called Nacelle. And when I first got there, city girl, going to the country, right? And I all of a sudden hear this clop, clop on my back porch. What the heck is that? And next thing I know, there's these gold eyes looking in my window, right? Scared the crap out of me, honestly, right? It was a deer looking in. And then one day I started seeing raccoons coming on my back porch, on the deck, before the sliding glass door, off my kitchen. Huh. You guys are hungry. So I got some dog food, threw it out there for them, right?
Mm-hmm.
As long as I gave them dog food, they did not touch my house.
Mm-hmm.
It was the neatest thing ever for me, and that was too cool. But that's giving back to nature.
Mm-hmm.
I know they talk about thinning out the herds, and for during hunting seasons,
Mm-hmm.
I understand that because there is not enough vegetation for them to eat and survive because we've taken so many trees away to build homes and apartments and condos and in areas that are beautiful areas that I wish they'd leave for the animals and for reserves, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I understand that. But what happens when they go too far with it?
Mm-hmm.
And you have lot of knowledge on that. But if they go too far with it, then they come down out of the mountains and then they're coming into the city looking for food. The bears, the deers, the coyotes, raccoons, all of them. Because we've taken away from them.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not just the ocean that we're taking away from. We are taking away from, all these amazing creatures, elks, bears, you know, raccoons. I mean, I could sit there and name bunches of them off, just like you could, Teresa. And you're part of the zoo anyway, and in Woodland Park Zoo. And so you know what I'm talking about. And there are ways that we can save that also. It's like the animals that are in the zoo, they're protected and they're taken care of. They don't come to the zoo just by themselves.
Right.
There's always a reason why they're there. It's not true.
Yeah, often as teachers, teaching us about animals, teaching, empathy and compassion, but it's about balance, really, in the end. Everything has a right to be here. All life has a right to be here.
Right.
And it's important for us to not snuff it out unnecessarily.
Right.
To say, what can you do? I have a big backyard, and the gophers love it.
Mm-hmm.
And the moles love it. They ruin it. It used to be so pretty, but they have a right to be here too. So we don't trap, we don't kill, and we learn how to just sort of coexist together. So I have more flower beds than I have grass, because it works better. And then I go, fix things. But if you can believe in that,
mm-hmm.
and operate from that baseline of everything has a right to be here, then we just work it, we work it, but we have to think about it differently.
Right. And you said the right word, coexist together, just like humanity. Human beings
Mm-hmm.
have to go coexist. Animals have to coexist. We have to go coexist together. We'll be right back with your side and the Goddess Emergence, where we merge together, merge better.
Tune in to Navigating Parenthood, Be Your Influence, Be Their Guide with Carol Mastriani every second and fourth Monday on Transformation Talk Radio for expert guidance, real answers, and inspiration to help you be the positive influence in your child's life. Got questions? We've got answers. Learn more and connect with Carol at beyourinfluence.love. Parenting isn't just a journey, it's a lifelong learning experience.
The Crystal Coach Show, sharing clarity, guidance, and practical wisdom with me, Anahata, every first and third Monday at 10 a.m. Pacific Time on TransformationTalkRadio.com. On The Crystal Coach Show, we channel divine wisdom through stories of service, spirituality, and stones for self-care. Feel connected and reside in the vibration of love. For more information and to connect with me, visit thecrystalcoach.com. That's thecrystalcoach.com.
Seniors Rule Age Like a Warrior is the podcast for mature adults who refuse to stop growing and for everyone who believes life after 50 is filled with new possibilities. Join hosts Robin Clare and Rebecca Sears every second Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific on Transformation Talk Radio as they share stories, advice, and insights on aging like a warrior. For more information, visit seniorsrulenow.com.
Are you ready to heal your mind, body, and soul? Tune into the Real Healing Institute show with Michelle Sinclair every second and fourth Wednesday at 9:30 a.m. Pacific on TransformationTalkRadio.com. Tap into the power of spiritual guidance to heal your beliefs, elevate your well-being, and release subconscious pain. Enter the space where truth reigns and divine alignment begins. Ready to step into higher spiritual awareness? Visit therealhealinginstitute.com today and start your journey.
Welcome back, everyone. A pathway to healing. Stopping to take time and things unconsciously is a walkway of healing. Think about that. It's just not always healing ourselves. But is there a way to heal our past mistakes that we've made in this lifetime? Yes, ourselves. Everything you sit inside of you is needed. You have everything inside of you. You have your common sense, you have your cellular memory, you have mitochondria, you have everything you need inside of you to access what you may have done. So if you think back as a child of, let's just say, 10, and you took things from the ocean you weren't supposed to take, like driftwood. I don't think you take that anymore. Can you, Theresa?
Not anymore.
Yeah, okay. So you say, oh, it's just wood. I'm just taking it home. I like to driftwood. I don't care what
Sand
they.
and sand dollars.
Yeah.
I was
And
making a garden.
right. So all these things that you've taken, how do you heal yourself from the guilt of it? I know for me, it took a lot of work. I had to think back. I thought back about it, and especially after watching Deep Rising, I thought about what have I done? And I had to heal myself. And then I thought, okay, what do I need to do now? Give back through intention. And what could the intentions be? Saying I'm sorry for one, honoring them, taking down some stones and putting them digging down really deep. I'm not saying just a couple inches. When you go into a public place like that, dig down like a foot in this section and put some in there and cover it back up and say thank you. But, that's one thing we can do with intentions. What do you have an idea on, Theresa, about intentions to giving back?
Well, I know that I'll just say you and I in past have taken some stones of a particular kind, and we have given them back to the rivers.
Right.
And so those were things that we felt just needed to go back. And that was, sometimes you just get an idea of this is a better place for you,
Right.
And so that's just part of an intention to go give back. I mean, it's as simple as giving back, but there's so many ways you can give back.
Right. That was the greatest thing we did.
It was
very
rewarding,
fun.
wasn't it?
It was fun. It was rewarding. And, there's times I've taken some and I drove down different areas a long time ago and I throw more in the Puget Sound here. And I've done what I can do. And I'll keep doing that.
But it's led by your awareness, isn't it?
Right.
Your awareness,
So
your compassion to do good.
Right. So let's just say you have a pendulum. Okay. You break the chain off the pendulum. What are you going to do with it? Okay. Take the rest of the chain off, dispose of the metal properly, right? And put it out in your yard. Dig it in the ground. It doesn't take much to take a little stick or whatever and just shove it down in there. Let the earth have it. And then, bless it and Gaia will cleanse it. So you have to do anything with it. Just put it in there. It's going to be cleansed immediately.
Right. I have a Buddha statue that sits out there that has lots of stones around it. And my stones move around the yard a lot.
Good.
The fairies and whatever, sometimes the crows. But I find stones all over the place. Not where I left them. So they're really not mine anymore anyway.
No,
I
no,
try
they're
to
not.
keep them out of the grass so the mower doesn't get them, but yeah, it's amazing what happens at night.
Isn't it fun when you wake up and you find those things
Yeah.
moved?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's hilarious. Okay, so the other thing is, when do we become an ally with nature? When you finally give up destroying this earth
Mm-hmm.
and you energetically bond with the earth. And what I'm talking about is taking your feet and standing that earth on the earth. I don't care where you're at. You don't have to have your shoes off, and bring yourself enough to bond and say, I'm here to honor, and I will start helping saving this earth in the way that I can.
Mm-hmm.
So as a spiritualist with me,
Mm-hmm.
I do a lot of energy work, and I love using my hands. So why not, now that I'm not using crystals and stones, why not call the energy of the purity of the crystals that come from the creator and put it in the earth to heal?
Into the oceans, into the
Right,
lands.
right.
I know you do this, but many people take a walk in nature every
Mm-hmm.
day.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to the trees. I mean, I talk to myself way too much anymore. There's a great wisdom in the trees
Right.
if you're just walking through, and you can have some great conversations.
You can. I used to call that talking, me, myself, and I.
Yep.
No,
Another
me,
way to give back.
myself,
Mm-hmm.
and the higher self, all talking together at once and
Mhm.
talking to flowers, trees, whatever. Or I walk on the grass and say, oh, excuse me, I'm sorry, didn't think about telling you I was going to walk on the grass.
Mm-hmm.
Real simple things. Okay, so the other thing is when we reconnect with our sacred nature, that's inside of us, the sacred part of us. And then the sacred part of a land where you may want to go. So let's just say going on to your area
Mm-hmm.
where that was a very area that needed to be cleaned up,
Some cleaning.
and it is sacred where you live.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going to go into the full history of that, but that goes back all the way to the Indian times, I'll say that. And I'm not recognizing that and building houses and everything on there. But you have taken extreme measures to honor the area you are in.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just not your house, it's the houses around there, but what you've done, I'm very proud of you for that. And I want to say thank you and bless you for that, because many people don't think of that. It's my area that I see, and I go, oh gosh, yeah. Let me send out some love. The last few days, some things have been changing in me, and I'm going, look at that house across the street. It looks like 6 feet closer now, and it really does. And with my glasses are off, without it, and I'm going, I'm seeing a different change that's happening, and that tells me, with the great shift of consciousness, the changing is happening.
Everywhere.
Right. Bringing out more light to this earth.
Can you imagine if everybody did this?
And this is what I'm hoping for. This
Yeah.
show will be a ripple effect to everyone.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's important. The other thing is what is one action that you may take, and I'm not saying you, but you and I can talk about, that's totally different than what we've ever done before. What do you think, Teresa?
Totally different. I'll think about that.
Yeah.
I do a lot of different kinds of things, so.
But you know what? You answer
Yeah.
it properly. We need to think about what we can do that's totally different that we've never done before. So you're going to dig deep down inside of you to find that answer.
Quiet your mind and it will come. That is what I am learning.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not an easy thing to do in a busy world, but find that few minutes to quiet the mind, and we might be shocked at what we discover.
Right. Right.
I
So
know I will be.
right. So it's like after the show, I'll quiet my mind down for a little bit. Okay, you did your show. Now you're gonna quiet your mind, and then what comes up next, I'll never know. So the other thing is, let's kind of recap what we talked about. We only have 3 minutes left before the end of the show. Taking care of this ocean is important. Leave the ancient sea creatures alone, scientists, because you know what? You're not proving nothing to us, actually. You're hurting what we have here on this planet that we've been graced to give by the Creator to us. And you never know, those sea creatures could be protecting us on this planet. The other thing is, be watchful and mindful when you're driving of animals that are crossing the street, the squirrels, little chipmunks. They all have a job to do. They all have a journey just like we do. The other thing is I want to talk about is when you are hunting, and I have nothing bad to say about hunting, I will tell you that. I'm not a vegetarian, I'll also tell you that. But the thing about it is that thank them for what they've done. They're thinning out the herds to survive. I get that. But be mindful when you're driving up in the mountains. Now, I'm not saying worrying about your car. I worry about them.
Right.
Now, we've had a couple jump out in front of our big truck, and it's like, oh, that happened a long time ago. But it's okay. If we're mindful of what we do and to use the correct intentions of love for everyone, not just humanity, but for the animals, we can make a big difference there also. The water you drink. Be careful with that. Bless it. There's lots of water you can buy that is spring waters. No, filtered waters. I don't have permission to bring up one water. I really want to bring up, but I can't until I have permission for that. But, do all that. Look in the stores and see where they're made from. So I'm going to end this show with restoring the earth, restore the ocean, restore yourself, and to be in complete honor of who you are. As a goddess, I honor myself and those around me, and Theresa, you do the same. So today, this was a completely different show than I normally do. I hope you understand where I'm coming from. Be mindful. Love one another. And love the animals that we have and those that you do not have in your house, especially. They need you in the sacred land we live on. God's bless everyone. And thank you for joining the Goddess Emergence. We emerge together, emerge better. To know more about me, go to drbriegibbs.com. And we will see you next time on the Goddess Emergence.
Thank you for listening to the Goddess Emergence Show with Dr. Brie Gibbs. Tune in the first and third Wednesday of each month at 2 p.m. Pacific on TransformationTalkRadio.com to experience spiritual pathway that addresses your physical health, emotional frequency, mental clarity, and spiritual well-being, all in perfect harmony. This isn't just an ideal. It is the comprehensive nature of the Goddess Emergence Show with Dr. Brie, a spiritual leader, healer, and trance medium who, alongside the Goddess Bell and the Creator, offer messages from the masters never shared or released on the planet. Beyond the show, Dr. Brie offers individual and group sessions at drbriegibbs.com. That's drbriegibbs.com. We hope to see you next time.